Hello and welcome to Dandy Soap DIY. You're really going to enjoy making the welcome fall, what we call pattern pumpkin deco mesh wreath. This wreath was inspired by Country Charm Tracy, and I'm going to show you my spin on it, and it is absolutely beautiful. Let's go over our supplies. We need a 14-inch wire wreath form and our deco mesh. So let's cover this deco mesh. This is a polypro mesh that is an all-weather mesh, and it is high quality. They are 10 inches each roll. You'll need 21 pieces at 12 inches long of each one of these poly mesh. So for example, you have a burlap there that has what they call Snowball, and you have a burlap color poly mesh. You'll need 21 pieces of each one of those. So, as Country Charm Tracy does, you can lay them together and cut them at the same time. Be sure that each time you cut is 12 inches long. And there will be a supply list in the description box below. Now, this is my color theme. I'm going with navy blue and burlap for this particular beautiful do-it-yourself fall wreath. Once again, with this color theme mesh, it's 10 inches. It's the same length as the others, and you'll only need 21 pieces at 12 inches long. Now, this is a specialty mesh. There's only 6 yards on this. It's a softer poly mesh, and it's very flexible and so wonderful to work with. You'll need 7 pieces of this only, but they'll need to be 14 inches long each. You will have plenty of mesh left over to do another wreath with this specialty. The other mesh you will need additional if you make the same size wreath. So grab you a bunch of clothespins, and I'm showing you the traditional way that we create crumples. We roll one edge in, we roll another edge in, we press it together, and then we clip it. And the clothespins really work well as an additional set of hands, especially if you have something debilitating like arthritis. It'll take the stress off. And you see, I'm laying these together and pinning them. But let me impress you with showing you what I call the charm crumple. This is Tracy's way of doing it, and I love it. It has saved me so much grief with having carpal tunnel and nerve damage in my hand. So what you'll do there is you're going to roll twice, clip it, roll twice, and then press it backwards and pinch them together. Now stack these together. The way this wreath is made, I have the popcorn burlap on top and the burlap color on the bottom. I will do 10 of those, and the other 11, the burlap will be stacked on top with the popcorn burlap on the bottom. And you'll see as we go along making this wreath. It is great to do things in succession and go ahead and clip these together and have 11 of your bundles one way and 10 of your bundles the other. As I said, this is an easy way to follow. Now, the themed mesh I'm using, the navy blue and burlap, as you can see, I'm doing the same thing. Roll twice, clip it, roll twice, press it backwards, and then clip it in the center. These will be joining the other crumple sets that's already been made. And using Tracy's method, it will really truly give you so much relief, especially if you have arthritis, and grab you a bunch of clothespins and clips. So this is how I'm doing it. You're placing the themed mesh atop of the burlap and putting the snowball one just underneath. That will be 11. The other 10, you will actually put the navy and burlap next to the snowballed burlap. And then this way, whenever the wreath is assembled, you'll be able to see that you have that little peak of the snowball burlap coming through, and you'll have your predominant color themed of the navy blue and burlap. Now, specialty mesh is rolled the very same way, and it's so soft, and just really loved handling it, and it's nice to work with. And this is high quality poly mesh. It's so much easier to work with, and you're really truly going to get that professional look. So there's 7 of those, and you're going to set those aside for the time being. Now we need 25 of our Chenille stems in our 14-inch wreath. You're going to begin in the first 2 inner loops of your wreath form, and you are tying a top. As you see, we have our Chenille stem coming through at the top. Give it 2 good twists and go to the next one. Now you'll place your Chenille stem in the first 2 rounds of your wreath form. Place the other crumple where the navy blue and burlap is on the bottom and the snowball burlap is on the top. And you'll do this. Every other one will be that consistency all the way around the wreath. And be sure that you're doing your 2 inner rings and then your 2 outer rings. So this one will go in the 2 inner rings, and it has the navy blue with burlap as the dominant on top. The next one tied to the wreath will be in the first wreath form rings, and I always crisscross when I get to a crossbar. So when I get that crossbar, that way it has an even Steven of your bundle, and it's much easier to work with, and they don't get hung up. And with this quality poly mesh, you're not going to have all the knotting problems and catching and fraying as you would with a cheaper poly mesh. Now you'll continue and fill up your form, and this is how it looks. I know you like that. It looks really nice just like that. So now it's time to attach the specialty crumples. The way that I done this, and I'm also sharing it with you, is I find my very first navy blue and burlap dominant one, and that's where I put my first specialty one. Once I place it in to the wreath, I count 3 over before I place another. Once I've tied specialty mesh into that, and it does not matter whether it's the dominant navy blue or whether it's the popcorn one, I just count 3 over. That way it's consistent and even Steven throughout the wreath, and it has a beautiful balance to it. So place the specialty into the wreath, then go 3 over and attach another. And then it will be even all the way around, all 7. And here's the final one. And as you can see, you see that little peekaboo of color, just enough. And it is marvelous. It is just beautiful. This is so wonderful that Tracy is sharing her talent and her skills with us, and I felt obliged to share it with you. So the first set of ribbon are cut at 13 inches long. These are all 3 2.5 inches wide. The second set has a window pane and a 1.5 inch ribbon, and they are also cut at 13 inches long. The third set has a garland and a very narrow 1 inch ribbon. These are only cut at 12 inches long. And you will need some raffia. You can use any color you like. I went with the natural. And this is a really cool thing because it really truly sends it home with that fall, autumn, do-it-yourself deco mesh wreath. It truly gives it that feel of autumn with this raffia. So the raffia's pretty long, and you'll just kind of double it into a 4, tie a knot in the center, and do 7 pieces because these will be tied into where the specialty mesh was, the green. Once you have 7 of these brought together, the knot in the center really makes a difference. And Tracy's method, they're just beautiful wreaths. You will love this wreath forever. Now, the charming ribbon set, as I call it, because this is also Tracy's method. She takes a stapler and she lies on crisscross and then one in the center long and clips it with a staple. You can use the itty bitty staplers or you can use a regular stapler, but it will not add any bulk to your wreath. It will not cause any problem, and you are going to love it. This will be most impressive if you have not been stapling your ribbons together before. Now, I was too shy on the other, but I had this one ribbon that had writing on it. So there again, if you run out of ribbon, you have other colors that you can plug in there, and it just gives it that much more character. Now, with the window pane, you do not want to dovetail it, and you want to keep it straight. So as you see here, all the ribbons have been dovetailed except for the window pane ribbon. Now the final set has a garland in it and a more narrow ribbon. And this is beautiful garland. You will love it. All of these ribbons were either bought at Hobby Lobby. These 3 right here were. And the others were purchased either through Dollar General or Dollar Tree. So you could use your Dollar Tree supplies to make this beautiful wreath and complement it with some other ribbons that you may have. You want to balance it with 2.5 all the way down to no smaller than 1.25, 1.5 inch wide ribbon. And the 12-inch on the last set really truly gives it that beautiful look. Now it's time to assemble. As you see here, I am finding the very first bundle beside of the one that has a specialty mesh tied to it, the green. Right beside of it. I don't want it in the green bundle. I want it just beside of that. And this is where I tie my first set into. It has the orange and all of the colors that complement this wreath. I'm bringing it closer so you can see. This is Tracy's method, and I am loving it. So once you tie it on, you're going to take your snips and you're going to clip the chenille stem. Only do this once you're certain that that's where you want your ribbon, and you will not be making any changes to it because we're fixing to make it permanent. Once you clip the chenille stem pieces off, fold down the sides and then put a dab of hot glue. Not a lot, just enough to hold it in place. Bring your ribbons up, not necessarily getting the glue on them, it's just to hide and, well, fluff it out. So now we are going to the next, right beside of where we placed the specialty mesh, and putting another set of the first set of ribbons in. But you can work your wreath any way you like. Go by your eye and the color and the theme that you're going by. If you're duplicating this wreath, then select those that have a orange with some kind of plaid and a green hue to them, and the specialty mesh of green. You can't go wrong with the navy blue or the burlap. And this is the most beautiful autumn wreath. So I'm showing you, I'm just pressing them in the center, and then I grab my chenille, give it 2 twists. I'm sure that's where I'm going to keep it. I will snip those off. And once I put the glue in place, I will make sure that I mash down the stems on the chenille, put the glue just atop of it, just a dot, and then place my ribbons into shape and move to the next section. So this is how she's looking, and it's just a beautiful wreath as it is. Now the second set of ribbons, and this one has the window pane. You will tie it on next to the first set. So you'll go to the very next bundle and tie it next to it. And as you see, I just work in that form. I started and I go to the next one, and that's where I place the ribbon. Tracy's wreaths are absolutely gorgeous. They're very professionally done. She's super skilled. She's been doing it a long time. I've made many wreaths, but I can honestly tell you, I am so impressed with this wreath and her style and form, her teaching skill, and the way that she conveys to you. And when you get done with that wreath, you will have a sense of pride like you've never had before. This is well worth doing. So here's the third set. This one will be tied in to where we placed all of the green specialty mesh, and you'll put the raffia with it. Now you can do them individually, and I recommend that you do. Put the ribbon there, then put the raffia there, then twist the chenille, fold it down, put your dab of glue, and then go ahead and fluff out your ribbons and just work them and get them exactly where you want them. And as you can see this ribbon taking form as we've been working it and adding more and more detail to it. And once you get all of your ribbons tied on, this is your piece. So now let's create the signage. I have selected one of the wooden pumpkins from Dollar Tree and my Pane's Gray Americana paint. Using some painter's tape, I am placing this in the center of my pumpkin. And I need to make sure it's exactly in the center because you and I are going to do a little more work to this to make a patterned pumpkin. Now my daughter dyed this burlap to this special autumn rustic orange color. It's like a burnt orange and almost a cross to a brown. And it's just gorgeous. And I'm using my black magic marker, which I favor it. I have to have it all the time. Pull a piece of the burlap, cut that, and that will prevent it from raveling and getting really, really ragged on you. And then I just go ahead and cut the square that I had traced the pumpkin on. And this is the side it's going to go on. So this is working out great. Now the next step is to go ahead and paint the opposite side with the Pane's Gray. And I'm just really quickly painting this color on. And it's just a beautiful blue. And I'm going to use the Waverly Chalk Truffle to do the back of the pumpkin and the opposite side. The burlap I have is a landscaping burlap, so it has the larger holes in it. So I felt that I should probably paint the background of my pumpkin. But if you're using regular woven burlap with the smaller holes, you won't even notice it. You won't even need to paint it if you don't like to. Now we're going to place some Mod Podge on the brown side and put the burlap into place. But I'm going to show you an easier way for your Mod Podge. Get you a water bottle, and once you've Mod Podged and placed your burlap, mist the burlap down with water. One, it helps the Mod Podge underneath to stay moist enough to soak into the burlap. The burlap fibers can take it up. And number two, it saves you on the amount of Mod Podge needed to apply to burlap. And as you can see here, I'm moving very swiftly. Now, it does take a little longer for it to dry because, well, we just dampened it and misted water on it. But I let it dry enough that I can cut the excess off of it. And as I'm still working this signage, it will be drying all along. If you have one of the heat guns, you could use that. But it's really not necessary. Now, using a multi-purpose acrylic folk art paint and a makeup sponge, I've selected a stencil that I truly love. It has flowers and a few leaves, and it looks so delicate and lacy that it's perfect for this application. So I'm just laying my stencil down, and I purchased this stencil from the Dollar Tree. They have many, many choices. If you're enjoying this video, please like it and save it to your playlist so you'll be able to go back to it and watch it again and make your autumn wreath or your welcome fall pattern pumpkin deco mesh wreath. So this is a true do-it-yourself, and you can buy all these supplies really easily between the Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby. So now we're trimming off anything really, really close to our frame with our scissors. So I want you to meet Rosie. This is something that if you don't have, you're going to want one of these. This is a mini desk vacuum, and it looks like a ladybug. You will find the affiliate link in the description box down below. This thing has saved me so much time and stress and helping me keep my area cleaned up and things from clinging to my signs. Now we're applying Mod Podge. It's really important to put a sealer on your signage when you're going to attach it to your wreath that will be possibly exposed to elements outside. To create the 3D stitches, grab the 3D paint at Dollar Tree. And what you're going to do is you're going to do a diagonal line from the left downward to the right, all the way through the center on your patterned pumpkin. Once you get to the bottom of the pumpkin, you're going to turn it sideways and you're going to make another diagonal, making it look like there is stitching on your pumpkin. And it truly looks like it's been threaded and sewn on, as though the burlap were sewn onto the pumpkin and the pattern or lace was sewn on the other side. And it has that old quilt stitch. Now you need to allow the 3D paint to dry overnight, most important, and a minimum of 12 hours. So we have our wreath and now we have our sign. So let's finish doing our sign. I've made a messy bow, and basically all you'll do is take numerous pieces of fabric, ribbon, raffia, and string, baker's twine, and tie them together. I selected one of the Welcome Fall wood cutouts that Dollar Tree had and one of my little pumpkins for the center. So to attach the sign to the wreath, this is my method. Take your Chenille stems the full length and place hot glue on the back, and make sure you use painter's tape. It will not ever come loose. It will be there, well, till the good Lord returns maybe, but it'll uphold and you'll love it. Now go ahead and find you 2 big squares of scrap fabric that need to be at least 15 inches by 15 inches. And I'm using my marker to mark the circle there, and I'm going to be cutting off the salvage corners to make it round. Now we don't need it just yet, but we did need to size it because now we have to attach the sign and a hanger. So I'm just checking it and making sure, yes, this is the size. And I cut 2 pieces. If you have the wired jute twine, here's you a little tip. Take some Scotch tape and tape it where you want to cut it, and cut it with your needle nose pliers. You won't ever have to worry about it raveling or falling apart. And this is some heavy duty wire. It's strong. And if you watch the way I tie mine on, that wreath will stay centered. It will not sway back and forth. Your hanger will not be sliding on it. And it will stay in the wreath without any problem. And you'll be able to put it up in between seasons and store it. And it'll stay in shape. If you stay tuned, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to maintain your Deco Mesh wreath, how to care for it, and how to clean it should it get dingy or dirty, and bring it right back to life. So feed your Chenille stems basically down through the center, and then you'll be able to feed them through the Deco Mesh. And my method is, once I feed them through, I string them through the wreath itself, because it's through the Deco Mesh and now it's through the wreath form, and I really truly just wrap it around until I've used up all the length of the Chenille stem, because I do not cut it at all. I simply wrap it and make sure I wrap it around the wreath itself continuously. Once the backing is put into place, it's not going to get disturbed or knocked. So now I've glued the 2 pieces through looping it through the back onto the back of the wreath. She is an absolute beauty, and the colors, the video doesn't even do it justice. It is so gorgeous. Make your welcome fall pumpkin Deco Mesh wreath. Save this video to your playlist so you can refer back to it, and stay tuned for the tips on how to care for your Deco Mesh wreath for years to come, each and every season. I appreciate the likes for this video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel, well, go ahead. I would love to have you join me. Hi friend, as I promised you, I'll give you some tips and tidbits on how to maintain your Deco Mesh wreath as well as cleanse it. Well, Deco Mesh is made out of plastic, a lot of times recycled plastic, comes in a vast amount of colors, and it's real easy to maintain. If you leave them hanging up, you can place them in a zip-up bag like you would your Christmas wreath, and that will keep them in shape as well. Those of us who make these wreaths and sell them always put a sealer on the signage or anything that's attached to the wreath because we know it's going outside, and that way it can weather the elements. Now, to clean up your wreath is real easy. Bear in mind, I'm not sponsored by either one of these products, and they are ones that I recommend. Never use any kind of Clorox cleanser on your Deco Mesh wreath. For one, it can fade your ribbon, and number two, could possibly fade or damage any signages attached to it. Use Windex or 409 cleanser. The best way to do it is take it outside or to your home shower. Mist the cleanser on the outer perimeter of the wreath only. Just on the outer perimeter. Don't spray the signage or any big bows that are attached directly. That fine mist is just enough. Do not allow the cleanser to sit any more than 5 minutes on your wreath. Especially don't allow it to dry. Then you're going to use your misting shower head on your water hose or on your home shower, and you're going to rinse it off at least 60 seconds to remove any of the cleanser. Shake off the excess water, allow the wreath to dry, drip dry, and once it's dried, you can reshape any ribbons and reaffix the signage if it's droopy or moved around or shifted. Most of the time, we've made these to where they will endure a storm like none other. So they'll hold up for a long period of time. Thank you for staying to the end of this video. Like it and rewatch it if you like. Do your own DIY Welcome Fall Deco Mesh Wreath. And until the next DIY, well, this is Elizabeth, and I'll be crafting y'all. Bye, friend.